Welcome to a noob's guide to TIKTAQ'TO. This is TIKTAQ'TO, which is how you would pronounce his name if it was actually Aztec. Not Gorok, Oxyotl, the Kai, Teto, Chacox, or any other footnote character the internet wanked itself into a frenzy over, speculating as the free lord for Total War Warhammer 2. TIKTAQ'TO is the one Games Workshop created after they watched Dinotopia and thought, we should steal that, but then make it weird. He's a hotshot fighter pilot with a cocky attitude and a reckless demeanor that constantly puts him in the danger zone. TIKTAQ'TO is just Tom Cruise, but taller and less slimy. He even comes with his own Iceman to mount. His Pterodon life partner and starting companion, Swoop. The eye in the heavens, the master of the skies of Hexoatl, TIKTAQ'TO starts his campaign on a completely different continent than the city of Hexoatl, because game reasons. TIKTAQ'TO, in fact, gets its own fresh new zone carved into the Mortal Empires map to start in, called the Southern Desert of Araby, which allows him to take a giant guano all over the Southlands and any hopes of ever seeing an Araby DLC at the same time. Stuck at the bottom of this continent, he has the imperial colony of Sudenburg to the east, the Tomb Kings just above them, and then, if you don't die in the deserts, the undead Strigos Empire to deal with. And just in case you thought you could go west, nope, dwarves. Because in Warhammer, you can't throw a rock at a mountain without hitting a dwarf crapping in a cave somewhere. The one saving grace of his starting position is the ruined city of El Kalabad to your north. But don't get too excited, because there's a Skaven enclave of Clan Eshin waiting to take that before you even get there. Because screw you and your very hard starting position difficulty, that's why. His Vortex campaign is mercifully a bit easier. Sudenburg still takes up everything to the north, and the Leaf Cutters hold the east. Though you start surrounded by enemies, he gets a free city to your bottom left, so that's keen. And as the Dune Kingdoms to the northwest begin as the literal weakest enemy on the continent, it's a hop, skip, and a jump attack at them for an easy fur resource. And if you don't see where I was going with this joke, you should probably start this video over, because I couldn't go this whole time without making at least one tic-tac-toe joke, just like Games Workshop couldn't stop their flawless run of naming nonsense. Together, TIKTAQ'TO, Swoop and his flying circus throw convention to the winds and fly higher, harder, faster, stronger, so you'll be able to see 25% further on the campaign map from up there. And they do it to the Daft Punk version, not the lame Yeezy remix. And if you perform his unique rite of Sunki, Sunki? He's the Lizardmen's Old One's god of water, and I actually think Creative Assembly meant to put Tepik, the Old One's god of air here, and it's just a small typo, because, thematically. So make sure to post this on the official Total War forums and Reddit about how CA is purposefully screwing over the Lizardmen and destroying the franchise. I'm sure that'll get that fixed lickety-split. The Rite of Sunki here allows you to reset your campaign movement in the middle of a turn, allowing you to use Forced March twice in a single turn, giving you unparalleled distance covering abilities, so you can even outrun Kenyans. Okay, maybe not Kenyans. That would be too OP. But with this character, Creative Assembly is pushing boundaries, exploring depths only previously plumbed by the movie Shrek, and featuring its first ever interspecies relationship. And before you say that's illegal, I'd remind you that you can't have a skink without some kink. TIKTAQ'TO has a true bond with Swoop. You start mounted on him, and he refuses to ever get down from the guy, even when bigger, burlier Saurian mounts are available to him. Because that's what love is. But the real question here is, does this illicit romance pass the Captain Jack Harkness test for exploring new romantic frontiers and deciding whether or not you can bang a foreign life form? The tenets of which are fairly straightforward. Does Swoop have human-level intelligence or greater? Well, that's a negative, Ghost Rider. TIKTAQ'TO is clearly the brains of this operation, with his Saurian spouse just following orders as a beast of burden. And I'm not even sure if skinks have human-level intelligence, so this is a bar low enough that you'd have to limbo under it. Can Swoop talk or otherwise communicate with language? Well, let's check. I don't speak Pteranodon, but that sounds like a no. And the biggie, is Swoop of full maturity for his species? Well, according to lore, Swoop is the largest pterodon in the Warhammer world, but that could just be glandular. And even though up until now I've been assuming his gender and saying he, Swoop doesn't seem to lay eggs, so that's no help either. But as any good paleontologist will tell you, male pteranodons were actually larger than females, and the long crest that we see here on Swoop only developed in males, as a surefire sign of visible sexual maturity. So we can confirm that that Swoop is indeed an adult male pterodon, and that TIKTAQ'TO is a true stick jockey. And before anyone tries to correct me, there is no such thing as a pterodactyl. Pterodactylus antiquus and the pteranodon belong to the pterodon family, which is why TIKTAQ'TO is a pterodon rider. So don't test me on this, I've got a 3-year-old. But with a bangability score of only 1 out of 3, this relationship is only legal in Alabama and certain parts of northern Wales. And TIKTAQ'TO is not alone here. Unwilling to be kink-shamed into hiding his non-conventional lifestyle, any skink lord recruited by TIKTAQ'TO is given their own pterodon to mount at level 1, so they too can take to the skies and experience the sweet kiss of the wind on their scales. While TIKTAQ'TO is technically a free DLC lord for Warhammer 2, he really requires the units that come with the Prophet and the Warlock DLC to be effective. So like any good dealer, Creative Assembly gives us the first taste for free and includes one in his starting army. Pterodons with firebolas do everything the normal ones do except better, because there's never a downside to burning balls of blazing fury, and Ripperdactyls are a new flying anti-infantry unit that eat a backline of archers faster than Baptist to the stake line of Golden Corral, and with Ripperdactyls, you can even throw a bloat toad at your enemies to drive them into a frenzy of attack, so extra points to CA for true Warhammer lore. And if you're unclear on how this mechanic actually works, just go to a parade and watch when politicians throw candy at children. They'll tear each other apart over a Tootsie Roll, and then they'll throw that abomination back in the gutter where it belongs, because even children have some self-respect. The Ripperdactyl Regiment of Renown version, the Colossedon Hunters, have the anti-large trait, making them useful to tie down scout cavalry, but too weak to actually kill them outright, all the while sitting there as easy targets to be riddled full of arrows. And that's actually the problem with an all-aerial army in this game. They're weak against massed range. On the tabletop, the Lizardmen could counter this with their dragon-like Codal unit, named after the mythological Quetzalcoatl, flying around as a giant siege engine and then lobbing insults from range, like pigeons. But without him, TIKTAQ'TO will never field a fully aerial force, and still requires boots on the ground to be effective. But that doesn't mean he's a pushover. He fields all flying units at half their upkeep cost, so you can recruit tons of them. And when you're in foreign territory, they'll even get a +10 bonus to melee attack, allowing you to be more birds than, well, birdemic. And while all Pterodon riders have the special ability to bombard the enemy by dropping rocks from the sky, when they have TIKTAQ'TO as their leader, they lash on a second salvo, so they can swoop onto the battlefield with both balls blazing, ready to dip their sacks and bring more teabags than a 12-year-old at a Call of Duty tournament. And TIKTAQ'TO gets an even more devastating version, called the innuendo-laden Spheres of Sotek, giant orbs carved in mystical runes that dangle beneath Swoop as he flies, ready to rain ruin and Arabian goggle unsuspecting foes as you plop them down for sweaty splash damage. You can even improve the ability so they'll explode all over their faces harder than a Mia Khalifa video. Taken together, you can easily make half your army flyers, and then paint the field faster than a flock of pigeons who just ate Taco Bell, wiping out most of the enemy army in a bombing run in the battle's first seconds. It turns the opening moment of every engagement into your own personal apocalypse now. Do you smell that? I love the smell of guano in the morning. Thanks for watching, and if the jokes in this video made you want to subscribe to my channel, then I hope you know where the incognito button is. And if you have an opinion on what lord should be next for this series, leave it below. I'll probably ignore it, but it'll give you the illusion of participation. So have a great day out there.